Please join me in welcoming a genius, a person that is going to take you to the next level. Give it up, nice and loud, for Mr. Paul SCHEELE. Come on, let's hear it for him. Paul SCHEELE. I can't hear
you. Morning. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I'd like to certainly acknowledge all of you who are able to get up this morning. Nicely done. And what a beautiful facility. Isn't this gorgeous? I just love it. So my hat's off to Strategic Profits. Thank you very much for putting all of this together, Rich and the team. How about giving it up for them? Woohoo! All right, this morning's session, hypnosis and non-conscious communication, has to do with how you work with your own mind, but also how you work with the minds of other people. This is applicable not only to your self-motivation, your ability to learn more effectively and integrate what you're gaining here over these few days, but in addition, how to structure your communication with those you're marketing to have more powerful influence on their inner mind, and therefore motive to action as well. Sound cool? So we have two real concepts here that we want to get at. It's this idea that you have very large untapped resources within you. For lack of more sophisticated terminology like subconscious or unconscious or paraconscious, we simply talk about anything other than conscious. Did you know that the database that you've been operating on at a conscious level is outweighed by the database of your non-conscious mind by 10 billion to 1? Now what that means is, for example, the human eye and brain process 10 million bits of information per second. But the conscious mind, out of that 10 million bits of information per second that it's processing, your conscious mind, which you've been running your life with, right? You went to school and they taught you through the use of your conscious mind. They asked you to repeat what it is that you learned. And if you couldn't do it consciously, you wouldn't have learned it, right? Remember that in school? Well, the conscious mind, out of that 10 million bits of information per second that you're processing, conscious mind only receives 40 bits. So that means there's a huge amount of information that's actually being worked on by your non-conscious mind that never reaches your conscious awareness. It's a little bit scary for most people to think about the idea that you could receive a stimulus outside of your conscious awareness, discriminate it from other stimuli, respond to it, and never consult the conscious mind. But in fact, that's exactly what's going on. So what we're going to do is show you how to tap some of those more vast resources of the non-conscious for your own benefit and the benefit of those that you serve. There's a couple of purposes or objectives that we would have today: to be able to use more of your mind's fuller potential, to overcome obstacles to success that you might have, to be able to communicate more powerfully with others, and to be able to attain your outcomes. So you all wrote down some outcomes, right? Yesterday, Rich guided you to write down some things. Now, as you complete all the learning that takes place in the days that we're together, what's left is putting it into practice, right? And I attended the speakers yesterday. There was a lot of information. Some might even say there was information overload. Did any of you get a feeling of information overload as you got more and more and more bullets of things that you could do? Anybody? Yeah? So the more bullets of information that you get, the easier it is for you to back off and say, when am I ever going to have time to put all that into practice? That concept, that abort function, if we would, that say, not going to be able to do that, too much, what we'd like to be able to do is bypass that and make sure that you get where you want to go. One of the things that happened very early on in my career, at age 19, I was a student at the University of Minnesota in biological sciences. And I had an opportunity to take a workshop on how to hypnotize. There were a couple of doctors of psychology that were in from Michigan, and a local clinical hypnotist wanted to get more people to fill up the class. I got a call. I was invited. At that time, I was into self-development. I was doing mind control. I was doing yoga meditation. Hypnosis is something I knew nothing about. So I agreed to go into it. The woman who was teaching it was named Zula Bowers. What a great name for a hypnotist, isn't it? Zula, the amazing Zula. I kind of expected a big rhinestone in her forehead. It was an amazing training, and what I found out during the training is that she had been told she had 2 months to live because she was dying of an inoperable liver cancer. But she had been given that diagnosis 5 years earlier. So she was really using the power of her mind to keep herself alive, pain-free, and to be able to do the work that she was doing. Well, she took me under her wing for a summer job while going to university. I did work as a professional hypnotist out of her clinic. 2 years later, I was the executive director of the oldest established hypnosis practice in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It was an interesting start. Never really had anticipated that's where my life was going to go. One of the things that occurred was Zula called me up. She'd send all of her clients to me. She'd also send all of her speeches to me. She said, Paul, there's a youth group in Minneapolis, and they would like a demonstration of hypnosis. Would you please go and deliver that? I said, Zula, I hate public speaking. I don't want to do it. No, please don't make me. And she said, they're going to pay you $150. I said, tell me what I need to do. Whatever. That was an amazing thought back in 1975, that I might actually get $150 for a 45-minute talk. This is pretty cool. I'll do that. So she gave me all the little tricks of what I might do. Well, during the presentation, I had 10 kids in a hypnotic trance. And I said to one of these kids, who's actually about 6'3", I said, your foot is glued to the floor. You could try to move it, but you cannot. Try to move your foot. You can't do it. It's glued to the floor. He could not move his foot. The whole time this is going on, I'm thinking to myself, this is so cool, it actually works. So I started getting pretty excited about it and thinking, I'll really put the whammy on this guy now, right? I looked at him and said, you have forgotten your name. You could try to tell me your name, but you can't do it. Try to tell me your name. And he looked at me and went, But at that moment, instead of thinking of how powerful I am, I thought, oh my gosh, every single day we're doing that to ourselves. We're taking perfectly reasonable resources of mind, and because we accept the simple idea, I cannot, what I do is I make it impossible for me to be able to do something. And I realized at age 19 that my job was not to put people into trances, but to awaken them from the self-limiting, self-defeating trances that they put themselves in. Interestingly, very recently, a study was just done of hypnosis clients, hypnosis patients in functional MRI. And what they did is they produced hypnotic amnesia, did the MRI while they're having this memory block, like this young kid who couldn't remember his name, and then give the suggestion that he can remember it and notice what happens to the brain. Is that cool? So as a result of this study, what they found is that there's an area very early on in the cascade of neurological events that would happen for you to actually remember something. What they found is that there is an abort mechanism. That the moment you say, I can't do this, you stop even trying. And because it's so early in the process, you give up way too soon. And as soon as you say, well, I can do this, that clears, the rest of it happens, and you can do it perfectly well. Now, my suggestion to you is to consider, as you put all of what you're learning into practice in your life, to build your business, to serve your clients, to achieve the financial goals that you would like, anytime you say to yourself, I don't think I'm up to this, I'm not sure I can do this, this is probably too much, you're absolutely correct. And you will abort all the capacities to be able to do it. If, on the other hand, you say, my mind can do this. I don't know how long it will take, but I might surprise myself. I might be able to do this much easier than I think is even possible. Now, there's another story I'd like to tell you. A colleague of mine who just recently passed away, went to his memorial service just within the last month. His name Dr. Fred Noah Gordon. He did some very early research in the area of oral surgery. And what he did is he hypnotized patients prior to surgery and immediately after surgery to find out if they could change the healing rates. And it turned out that, in fact, they could. A person would heal very quickly. Within 3 days, any surgical procedure that they did, they would heal from it. One woman, however, did not. 3 days went by, she hadn't healed. A week went by, she hadn't healed. 2 weeks went by, and they're beginning to worry that she might slough off the tissue graft that they had done. And so he asked her, would it be all right with you if I took you back, using hypnosis, back through the surgery that I did, to find out why you haven't healed yet? She said, sure. So using hypnosis, he regressed her back through the surgery, and it turned out that she was able to report every single detail of the surgery, from start to finish, even though she was in general anesthesia. Not just the procedures that were done, but every word spoken in the operatory. Okay? Talk about this massive, powerful mind that we have. It's phenomenal. Okay, so during the surgery, the anesthesiologist, who had a tendency to tell stories, by the way, told a story about his German shepherd. It was a very odd thing that happened. He had brought his dog in for surgery. And the strangest thing was that after surgery, she would no longer heel, meaning come alongside when you call to her and walk alongside you. Fred Gordon stopped her and said, hang on just a moment. When he told the story H-E-E-L, did you turn that into H-E-A-L? She said, yes. Did you then take that story to be about you? She said, yes. Is that the reason why you haven't healed yet? Yes. Could you remove that suggestion now? Sure. Do that, please. 3 days later, she was healed. Now, that was so impressive to Dr. Gordon that what he wanted to do is he wanted to make sure everybody on the team got what just transpired there. So he asked her, would she go through the same procedure of regression with the rest of the team in attendance? She said, sure. After the demonstration, the anesthesiologist stopped Fred and said, hang on just a moment. I did the anesthesia on this woman. She was completely unconscious. When she was telling us all that happened in there, who was speaking? Who was speaking? And at that moment, Fred Gordon's clouds parted, right? A shaft of light came down from the heavens and a chorus of angels sung, and he said, that is the accelerated learner. We all own one. It can receive a stimulus outside of our conscious awareness. It can discriminate that stimulus from other stimuli, differentially respond to it, even at the level of your physiology, and never once consult your conscious mind. Wow! When he left the field of oral surgery, he became an accelerated learning instructor. The reason I met him is I created a course for the Minnesota Dental Association on how to work with patients as they come into your clinic so that they're very tractable, malleable, relaxed, easygoing, no unnecessary pain, bleeding, anything like that. It was the only course approved for clinical credits that had no clinical practice in it. It was a very interesting program. These are the concepts I'm here to share with you today. How is it possible for us to work with this vast non-conscious capability, this accelerated learner that can literally do anything that you set your mind upon? You may have heard of the work that I've done called photo reading, where you actually learn to go through a book at a page a second. We start you at 25,000 words a minute, a page a second. It's astounding what the mind is capable of. Do any of you feel you have too much to read and you can't get to it? Yeah? And you want to read a lot more, especially after coming to a program like this, especially if you want to put together a great promotion, right? More information you have access to, the better. But if the only strategy that you have is one word at a time, left to right, it's kind of tough, isn't it? I'm getting a doctorate in leadership and change from Antioch University. In the first year, my stack of reading was that tall. It was fantastic. I loved it. I did most of it on the airplanes on the way to the residencies. It's great. Doesn't slow me down a bit. So, what's your mind capable of that you're denying in terms of functional potential? Real power. If you could release a little bit of that, would you be interested in learning how today? All right. So as we go through this, consider that it's better, instead of writing down things that I say, you've got in your notebooks, you've got my PowerPoints and you've got the little note-taking area. Rather than writing down anything I say, write down thoughts that occur to you, what I call side bands of consciousness. So what thoughts do you think of that can enhance your application of what you're learning here? The other thing is to do what we call brain-body balancing. Throughout your days here, when you're sitting with your butt in these chairs that, by the way, are not designed for human beings, it's a good idea if you take care of the balancing of your left and right hemispheres. There's something called educational kinesiology that I'd like to share with you. So if you would all please stand up. Set your materials down for a moment. Okay, the first move is called the cross crawl pattern, which is to reach across and tap the opposite knee. And what this does is it actually duplicates the way the brain worked when you're learning to crawl as an infant. It's cross-lateral movement. It moves across the midline. You see that? Okay, the next move, you need a little room around you. Next move is opposite arm and leg, like this. Be careful you don't poke anybody in the eyeball as you do this. This is a John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever thing, right? Okay? Now, most people will try doing the same side, but to do a cross means that you're actually balancing the hemispheres of the brain. Okay, the next one is to tap the opposite heel behind you. Opposite heel. Okay? And swing your other arm across your shoulder as you do that. Opposite heel. There you go, Bill. Opposite heel. Okay? Good. Now go back to the opposite arm and leg. You can see people going, Okay, and then back to the cross crawl. We're going to have to do some remedial educational kinesiology. I can see that. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. So put your arms out in front of you. Turn your thumbs down. Reach over your hands. Interlace them, fold them up like this, and then cross one leg over the other. Now, this will help to make sure you don't have to go to the bathroom for another hour. Actually, this is called hookups. Cook's hookups. It's hooking the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Try looking at one of your fingers and then moving the one you look at. Give you a feeling of who's really in charge here, right? Okay, unfold your hands. Give them a good shake. Okay, good. I'm going to give you a little stretch here, just to give you an idea of how challenging it can be to put new information into behavior that you might not be used to using up until now. Tom did some interesting things, with the arms, clapping your hands and putting the thumbs differently. Try this one. It's 2 moves, no big deal, right? Okay, first move is left arm, goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Good, you guys got it. Okay, right arm. Now let's work with the right arm. The right arm goes like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All set? I hear that murmur going through the crowd. It's like, I don't know about this one. Trust me, most people will not be able to do this. Does that disqualify you from trying? Okay, it's very important. It's very important to get this, that the fact that you can't do something absolutely naturally the first time you do it doesn't disqualify you from learning how to do it. Right? Okay, all set? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Both hands, you guys. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What a mess. I love it. This is great. Okay. Now, as I look around, this is great. People are going. Really focusing. Whatever it takes, that's cool. Let's just review, okay? One arm goes 1, 2. Yeah? So put that one on automatic pilot, because he can do that one. Then concentrate on the 1, 2, 3 arm. Okay? You all set? 1, 2, 3. Or not. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, have a seat. Good job. Woohoo! Well, I'm going to change my talk now. So, the notion behind this is balancing the hemispheres of the brain is really being in what we call the growth mode. There's a wonderful book by a woman named Carol Dweck who came out with a book called Mindset. It was about her research in psychology of studying kids who did well in certain subjects. And they found out that if they had the mindset that even if they can't do it, they can grow in their ability to be able to do it, they actually were able to perform. If they believed that their early performance is an indication of how well they'll ever be able to do, they actually got worse and worse and worse as the semester progressed. Sound familiar with what I was talking about earlier? So either you have a growth mindset or you have a fixed mindset. My encouragement to you is to have a growth mindset. Now what we're going to do is a little centering exercise to get you into the ideal state of mind. So if you would please, take a moment to set your hands on your lap, put your feet flat on the floor. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I don't want you to answer them yes or no. I want you to experience the answer. It's very simple. Can you notice the position that you're sitting in? Can you become aware of your hands resting on your lap? Can you notice your breathing flowing in and out of your nostrils? Can you close your eyes? And if you haven't done so yet, please do so now. Can you notice where in your body you feel your breath more in your abdomen, chest, or shoulders? Can you notice the inhales a little cooler, the exhale a little warmer? Can you let your shoulders drop a bit? Can you loosen your chin and jaw? Relax your face. Can you become aware of yourself from head to toe, the position that you're resting in right now? Can you allow yourself to attain your outcome for this session? What is it that you want to achieve as a result of your investment of time, energy, and money to be in this session this morning, right here and now? Can you feel your whole body elevating? Can you gently open your eyes? And if you haven't done so yet, do so now and bring your attention back into the room around you. Very good. Welcome back. The idea of balancing the hemispheres and being in an ideal state of relaxed alertness is the best way to start any learning event. Very, very powerful way to bring the fullness of your resources to bear for any activity that you choose to create. So, first thing that I would like to get at as a part of what we're doing here is a little bit of a mind teaser. Can you see the object on the screen? So actually, it's a high contrast image. Can you see that? What do you think it is? The brain? No. It's a cowboy on a horse. How many can see the cowboy on the horse? Yeah? If the people at your table can't see it, those of you who raise your hand, help the others be able to see it. Is there a laser pointer up here that you know of? No? So the top up there is the cowboy's hat, and the face of the horse, and the tail. What kind is it? What's got that palomino? Was it palomino or the Appaloosa? Is that it? Appaloosa. So the two legs down here, the back legs there, the tail. Yeah? How many see it? Yeah? A few more? Okay. When you listen to language patterns, sometimes it's easy to miss what's right before you. And so what we attempt to do is break down the language patterns into subtler chunks so that you can make sure that you get all the components of it. We're talking about multi-level communication, a communication which is directed to the conscious mind, but simultaneously to the unconscious or non-conscious mind. When we do this work, what we're really doing is working with expanded brain states. We've got the action channel, the ability to take action, be out here and go for it. We've got the relaxation channel. This isn't cable TV. This is the ability to adjust our mind into a more relaxed state of alertness, which we did during the relaxation mind calm exercise just a moment ago. The learning channel, the ideal place where the real learner is. This is that part of you that Noah Gordon referenced, Fred Noah Gordon. It's the idea that there is an accelerated learner within you. And then we've got that high creativity channel, the ability to really put out something phenomenally new that you might not have ever seen in the world before. And the ability that you have is to be able to change channels as easy as you would change channels on a television. You can go into all of these states at will. Now, I'd like to ask for 4 volunteers to participate in a demonstration of nonverbal hypnosis, hypnosis that I would use for the hearing impaired. I'd like to have my stagehands bring up 4 chairs here. 4 people want to stand up? 1, 2, 3. Is there a woman that wants to come up? 4, okay. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, please, come on up. Yeah, a little bit more about a chair and a half in between. Thanks very much. Come on up, have a seat. Now, if these people were in fact, hi, your name is? Bob, okay. Ken, great, thanks. Hi, Jan. If these people were in fact hearing impaired, I would either speak to them through lip reading, if they were skilled at that, or through an interpreter, just to get the first few suggestions available to them. After that, everything is done in silence. And so the only instructions that I'm going to give to you are very simply, have your feet resting on the floor, your hands resting on your lap. Close your eyes and think of the word relax, repeating in a space behind your eyes to the exclusion of all else. Once again, for everyone out here, it's very simple instructions. This would be given through sign language or lip reading. Feet on the floor, hands resting on the lap. Close your eyes, think of the word relax, repeating in a space behind your eyes to the exclusion of all else. The suggestion that I would then give, or have given, is that when I tap them on the forehead 3 times, they'd open their eyes, I'd give them the next suggestion, that sort of thing. And then at the end, I'd say when I tap you on the forehead 5 times, you're going to open your eyes, be wide awake, alert, refresh, and so on. So since they can hear me, I'll give them the suggestion to bring them out. In a moment, I'm going to count forward from 1 to 5. At the last number, you'll awaken and will be wide awake, alert, refreshed, in tune with life, feeling great. Now, 1, feel your whole body elevating. 2, all of your natural bodily functions in a perfect rhythm and harmony. 3, more alert, refreshed, your mind clear and bright. 4, knowing that everything that you're learning in this conference is going to be fully and automatically available to you, to be used by you in positive and constructive ways to achieve all the goals that you have set for yourself. 4 and 5. Now, wide awake, alert, refreshed, in tune with life, feeling great. Good. Now, you stay right there. You all did beautifully. Question for the audience here is, here's the microphone. Question for the audience is, did any of you think that somebody up here might in fact have been in hypnosis? Hand, please. Yes? How many of you aren't sure? Okay, good. In fact, they're in very good states of hypnosis, kinds of states that we could use to achieve quite a few procedures in medicine and dentistry. Very good. So the question is, how many of you felt hypnotized? Yeah? Okay. Did you feel like you could open your eyes if you wanted to? Did you feel that you knew what I was doing when I was touching you? Were you unconscious at any point? Did you feel that, that you couldn't disobey at any point? Did you sense me walking around when I was doing that? Okay, so now the question is, some of you thought that they may have been in hypnosis, and yet the description that they gave you, although they may have felt hypnotized, the description that they gave doesn't sound really like hypnosis as you understand it, right? I mean, what is hypnosis? You're unconscious, you have no idea what's going, right? All that sort of stuff. So what was the experience like for you, Jen? You want to take this? And
just deep relaxation, calmness, and just quiet.
Okay.
Same. I was just very relaxed and open to suggestions, but I could have not done it if I didn't want to, but I chose to go along with it.
Okay.
That was fine.
Good. Bob?
Yeah, I felt the same. I was real relaxed and understood everything you said very clear, and it just felt really refreshing.
Good.
My mind was still going, you know, that tape in the back of the head, analyzing it all, but it was still okay. It was, I mean, it was like 2 different things going on, but I was amazed that I was still relaxed while that craziness was still there.
Okay.
So, and when you did this, I mean, I was amazed at how long it stood up without even bothering me.
Yes. That's an interesting thing, is no matter how long a person will hold their hand up like that, there's no fatigue in it. What's interesting about it, now I don't know if you just noticed what happened, but this is a very important response when you talk about direct response marketing. I don't know why I bought it again, right? The reason that that's so important is that there's this willingness to go along with it.
All right, here you go.
So what is this suggestion? This is too complicated for folks. Okay, let's start again. What is this suggestion? How many say go to sleep? How many say relax? Okay, personally, I don't think it was either of those. I think it's put your head down. But, you can make it up whatever you want, right? But to me, it's please put your head down. I am guiding you to do that. Now, when I pick up the hand and I give it a little tug, the suggestion is keep your hand there, please. And when I break the elbow and the wrist simultaneously and shake it, means drop it and let it flop next to your chair, right? So that makes perfect sense, right? I did not have to say a thing. Exactly right. I didn't have to say a thing. It was implied by what I was doing at the moment. Now, there is, in fact, a neural equivalent in writing to do the same sort of thing. It's presupposing certain actions that you would like to occur. Now, the question is it hypnosis or is it not? Well, we don't have a definition of hypnosis, do we? I would claim that it's all hypnosis and that there's no such thing as hypnosis. Great paradox, huh? We'll talk about that. So thank you very much. Applause for our troops here. Thanks, Jen. If we could get the chairs taken away, that would be lovely. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's get at what a definition of hypnosis is. What is hypnosis? By the definition of clinical practitioners of hypnosis, hypnosis is a limited focus of awareness within. So, by the definition here, let me just leave this here. By the definition, when a person sat here and closed their eyes, were they in a limited focus of awareness within? What was the suggestion? Close your eyes. Think of the word relax repeating in a space behind your eyes to the exclusion of all else, right? Now, right now, I could say, can you become aware of the index finger of your right hand or the feeling of the shape of the roundness of the heel of your left foot? Of course, they're both in your experience, but until I brought your attention to it, you didn't think of either of them. Now, are you hypnotized the moment that I said that? Yes, by this definition, that it's a limited focus of awareness within. Momentarily, yes. That's the key. That what happens is throughout our day, we drop into trance for little 1/10 of a second moments. And what we're doing in that 1/10 of a second is we're gaining access to something that's actually stored within. An image, a feeling, something that's already going on inside of you. Most of the time, people are accessing dysfunction. They're accessing incapacity, reasons why they cannot, instead of a tremendous amount of power. Now, we'll take another definition of hypnosis, you see, because there's two camps. One is the trance paradigm, the other is the non-trance paradigm. The non-trance paradigm of hypnosis says there is no such thing as hypnosis. Hypnosis is anything that concentration, imagination, and suggestion can create. So my claim is that the moment the person stood up to volunteer to come up here, they are already in a trance state. Because what did I say? Who would like to volunteer for a demonstration of hypnosis, to go into hypnosis using nonverbal hypnosis, what would be used for the hearing impaired? So the moment that they rose from their seat, they're already prepared to go into hypnosis as a demonstration. So when they get up here to sit down, do you think that they're wondering about what they had for breakfast? Or, when they're going to get their laundry done? Or no, I mean, they are very present here. Now I say, focus, which is the concentration part. Close your eyes. Now I give the suggestion, right? Well, first of all, is their imagination going wild here? You better believe it, right? I mean, it's like, what's he going to do now, right? And I came by, and some people almost jumped when I touched them on the forehead, pulled down, and you could see the hand come up, or like this, right? And some of them even got smiles on their face, almost giggled. And one of the lovely things to do with somebody like that is you can giggle with them. You say, you're right, this feels so cool, doesn't it? It just feels amazing how relaxed and fun this is. So concentration, imagination is there, absolutely. Suggestion, lower your head, raise your arm, let it flop, it's all there. So is that hypnosis? Yes, absolutely, it's hypnosis. But concentration, imagination, suggestion are what we use to create our reality. Think about it. If Mickey runs in here screaming that something awful has happened, everybody's got to evacuate immediately, we'd probably get up with a tremendous amount of seriousness and get the heck out of here. And if they had absolutely no basis in reality, we would still respond as if it were real. And what we know about stress responses and a lot of what goes on in terms of dysfunction with the human mind and body is exactly that. We're using concentration, imagination, suggestion to create all of the worst outcomes for ourselves for no good reason. So would you like to use this to make sure that you get the results that you want? So what are you focusing on? What are you doing with your imagination? And what are the suggestions that you're giving? And again, this could be for you or it could be for others. When I first got into neuro-linguistic programming, I was one of the first certified as a master practitioner. In 1981, there were 70 of us in the world that were certified as master practitioners of neuro-linguistic programming. And I had this wonderful opportunity to get together with someone in Minneapolis who had used NLP in the early days to create a sales training program. He knew the power of it. He was involved with it when Richard Bandler hadn't even named it. It was when they were doing work with Virginia Satir. And this fellow named Mark Orth said, this is such powerful technology, it's got to be fabulous for sales. And so he created a sales training program, thought he demonstrated it something he knew absolutely nothing about, which was automobile sales. So he contacted as many automobile dealers in the United States as he could. Nobody was interested, except one group, which was Volkswagen America, and they happened to have a Porsche Audi dealer in the Minneapolis area. High-end automobiles. They're really streetable race cars at that time. In the early 70s, I mean, it was when they were just coming out with these vehicles. Really intense, very expensive. And he thought, okay, I'll do that. And they said, well, you got to get your own job there, and then if you can prove that it works, we'll see, and maybe we'll be interested. So he gets a job at the Porsche Audi dealer, a psychologist, Mark Orth, and he goes, he talks with some of the salespeople. They say, forget it. I mean, it's going to take 2 years to get enough clients to even make a living at this. It's really difficult stuff. High-end cars, I mean, you need all kinds of referrals. Yeah, wah, 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 wah. So he said, yeah, well, whatever. In the month and a half that he was there, he outsold all the salespeople combined. There were over a dozen of them in the sales floor there. And his commission check, this was in the early 70s, for that month and a half was $45,000. She said, not bad. So he took his check and walked away from it and said, this is too powerful a technology, I'm not going to give it to him. So I begged him for decades, please give me what you got. And he said no. But finally, he did agree. I published it in a CD called Congruent Communications in a bigger course called Abundance for Life. And it's fascinating, the verbal patterns that he used. If you listen to Frank Kern's work, I managed to attend his session the day before. There's a lot of it there. It's brilliant stuff. And recently, I had the opportunity to model a high-end salesperson in the area of second home amenity community real estate. So this is where there's a golf course or an ocean or a mountain, that sort of thing. And this fellow, last year, with himself and 2 assistants, single-handedly sold, and you got to get that the most elite, most successful in that area last year sold like $12 million in real estate, which is huge. 14, some 17. This guy sold $55.6 million in real estate. So I went to Jacksonville, Florida. I studied this guy and looked at the verbal patterns and found out it was the same verbal patterns that Mark Orth was talking about. Mark Orth never had a client open the car door. He never had them sit in the automobile. He never had them test drive. He said he dare not, because those cars you can't take for a test drive. They'll blow out from under you so fast that they know that they can't drive it. So he says, you got to learn to let this car teach you how to drive it. You can't drive it. It's got to teach you. So he didn't dare have anybody go in it. This fellow who sells the real estate, the year before he sold $66 million in real estate. He has 3 meetings with them before they ever see a property, before he really answers any questions about the property that he's advertised in the Wall Street Journal. And then he gets them to go on their buying trip to the property. He'll select 4 properties for them. He closes 90+% of the people that he interacts with. 60% of his clients are referred leads. Amazing statistics. I mean, mind-blowing stuff. And all of the verbal patterns are very, very important. I'd like to give you a quick illustration of this, because speaking the language of the brain is what's so key. When I was teaching hypnosis for dental students and also dentists, there is a particular technique where you could actually produce a coma in somebody within 3 minutes, which is very helpful for painless tooth extraction. Strange thing about this is you could tell someone that after you pull out the molar that it will bleed just up to the level of the gum and stop, and it will. Spectacular what the mind can do. So one of the techniques is very simple. You can try it right now, and I'll give you an example of it. Take a moment to close your eyes and relax your eyelids to the point where they just won't work. Go ahead, close your eyelids. Relax them completely, just like a loose, limp pile of rubber bands. And when you've relaxed them so completely that they wouldn't work even if you wanted them to, you may try them and prove that you've been successful. Give them a good test, and then stop trying and let that relaxation flow down through your shoulders, down through your arms, into the hands. Good. Now give yourself a positive suggestion that the whole time you're at this conference, all of the positive and constructive ideas that can enhance your work are being integrated, automatically used for you to achieve the results that you desire. Now, count forward from 1 to 5. Last number, you open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes, wide awake, feeling great. Now, When I gave that little routine for you, it's a 30-second induction. How many of you opened your eyes when I said give him a good test? How many of you opened your eyes? Okay. Why did you open your eyes?
It was a test.
It was
Just
a
wanted
test.
to see, went very. First, I just tried to flicker them, and then I said, well, could I really do it? And then I opened them.
Okay, could I open my eyes? And you tried it, and you opened them. Now listen to what he said. Did I say to open your eyes? Listen to the language of this. It's very critical because it's very easy for someone to open their eyes and then think that they failed at the test. Listen to the test. Relax your eyelids to the point where they just won't work. And when you've relaxed them so completely that they wouldn't work even if you wanted them to, you may try them and prove that you've been successful. Did I say you can try them and open your eyes? No, I said try them and prove you've been successful at relaxing them so completely that they wouldn't work even if you wanted them to. Do you get the difference? Now, this is critical because a lot of people get this idea of stage hypnosis that you can not be hypnotized. Everybody goes into hypnosis throughout the day. Everybody does. So, thanks very much. So let's try this again. You can try it with your fingers like this as well. Put your thumb. No, here's a good one. This is kind of fun. Put your hands together like this so that your palms touch and squeeze them so that the backs of your hands are getting pressed in by your fingers. Now look at your hands and find one spot on your hand that you can look at. Look at that spot. Don't look at me. Look at that spot. Feel your hands being pressed together and your fingers locking against the back of your hands. Your hands are locked in place. I want you to use your imagination and imagine them so locked in place that you couldn't pull them apart even if you wanted them to. And when they're locked in place, so locked in place that you couldn't pull them apart even if you wanted them to. You can try to pull them apart, you can't do it. They're locked in place. Now stop trying, relax your hands, relax your fingers, wiggle your fingers, and shake your hands out. Now how many of you were able to get, just for a moment, that feeling of, whoa, they're really locked, okay? Now visualize this. A stage hypnotist calls, who would like to participate in a demonstration of hypnosis tonight? So we get 40 people on the stage. I give them a series of suggestions, like wave goodbye to everybody, can't lower your arm, try to lower your arm, can't lower your arm, try to, right? There are about 10 people just really struggling, can't lower their arm, and 30 people put their arm down and go, put your hands in place, lock it in place, try to open your can't. 30 people go. So the hypnotist goes and taps 30 of them on the shoulder and says, thanks very much, we're not going to work with you tonight. But now there's 10 that are left on stage. Now, who do we have? Number one, we've got someone who is an extrovert. How do I know that? They're willing to get up in front of 400 people to be part of the show tonight, right? They know they're going to be part of the show, right? Secondly, they're willing to accept a suggestion from a complete stranger. Third is that they demonstrated several levels of hypnosis, like muscle catalepsy, that would then qualify them for all kinds of very interesting demonstrations that would happen throughout the night. In addition to that, what will also happen is that they'll go in and out of hypnosis about 5 times. Now, why is this so important? Think about this relative to the direct response marketing work that you do. Dr. Bernheim found that if a person were to go through 5 experiences of hypnosis, they could develop a trance depth sufficient to do painless surgery, like tooth extraction. A fellow that I studied from is a name named Dave Ellman, and Dave Ellman found that you could do all 5 of those sessions in 3 minutes' time and produce the equivalent of a coma in somebody, and therefore do painless tooth extraction. I went to the University of Minnesota Dental School because there were a dozen of the dental students wanted to study this work with me. And I went to the head of the department who trains people in hypnosis, use of hypnosis. They have one colloquium for the dental students. And I said, here's the technique I have. I'd like to be able to teach it to your students. Absolutely not, he said. Well, this is a powerful technique. It only takes about 3 minutes, and I can show it to you in a clinical setting if you like. No, you won't. Well, why is that? Well, because it's going to take 5.5 hours of training before someone could be sufficiently hypnotized to have that kind of an effect. So I understand that's an old model. There's a new model where we can do it in 3 minutes. No, you can't. I'll demonstrate it for you. No, you won't. Well, will you at least allow for your students to study with me so they could get some independent credit? Absolutely not. Okay. So I ran the course for them anyway. But it's interesting, isn't it? The amount of resistance that occurred. Now, when you start looking at some of these absolutely astounding marketing techniques, any of you ever get the feeling that those results are impossible? How could they possibly get that sort of thing? Well, if you can run through 5 iterations, if you can move someone to use concentration, imagination, and suggestion 5 times, and having already closed the sale of having lived the end result that you're presenting to them, guess what's going to happen? They will absolutely be able to embrace it in a very powerful way, at a level that they don't understand, and you might not either. But this is what's key here. Remember, concentration, imagination, and suggestion. And by creating a container in which a person can live the end result, they get to feel that it's possible for them. So here's this immense real estate transaction. Person has spent their life creating their wealth. Now they see the second home ownership possibility, and they say, that's the lifestyle that I would like. I'd like my grandkids to come here. I'd like to play more golf. I'd like to go fishing. I'd like to be in the mountains, whatever it might be. The transaction's actually pretty easy. You've spent your life making a living. Now you want to take that wealth and create a life for yourself. Is that what I'm understanding? Yes, that is. It's a very simple transaction. It's about moving assets from here to here. And what I'm here to do with you is to help you be decisive. It's my only job. Because you've been thinking about this, you've been considering it. There are a lot of opportunities in the world to do this. Your job is to make the decision to do it. My job is to help you be decisive and to protect you along that way. Let me show you how I'm going to protect you all along the way. Isn't that neat? Very powerful idea of moving into what we call a unity relationship. Now, this concept of the unity relationship first came to me in a series of audio recordings by a Dr. Howard Watrous, W-A-T-R-O-U-S. Have any of you ever heard of Howard Watrous? Anybody? I don't think anybody that I know of today has ever encountered his stuff. It is, to me, the basis of the depth of the work that I'm speaking about here. I don't think you can find it anywhere. He's kind of vanished from the planet. These recordings were amazing. I listened to him, my partner listened to him. And when we would go into corporations, we'd see anybody that we'd want to see. We'd get to the very top of the organization. We'd network our way into any position that we wanted. And people would look at us and say, "How did you get in front of me? Nobody gets to me. It's impossible to get to me. How'd you do it?" We asked, "Who should we speak with?" And they said, "This guy." So we never had any limitations. We're always able to create it exactly as we wanted it to be. Now, it's about entering this deep unity relationship with someone. And the description of this is in neurolinguistic programming, talked about in a little more surface level. And let me share some of the ideas of it with you. What we're talking about is speaking the language of the brain, being able to communicate in all sensory systems and be able to contact the pattern maker within the brain. The pattern maker is that part of you that decides how your behavior is going to go. And you may be familiar with visual, auditory, kinesthetic. It's the 3 sensory systems. All of your thinking is coded in what's called visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and olfactory, gustatory sensory representations. Dr. Asen, which hopefully over the next year I'm going to bring out the work of this fellow from Kashmir named Asen's eidetic psychotherapy. I'm just plant that idea in your mind because this is really stunning stuff. He says everything in the world has a triple description. There's an image, there's a soma, and there's a meaning. ISM. Triple description, triple coding of the world. That image, as he describes it, is actually coded in these subtler modalities as well. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. So I'm blending these together. Very powerful stuff. I'd like to show you how easy it is to contact the pattern maker within you. We're going to do a little game right now. So all you have to do is find the little line at the base of your palms and line your hands up so that those lines are together, and then fold them together like this so that they line up. And you're going to find, in most cases, one hand is slightly longer than the other. Try it again, just to make sure that you get a good calibration at the beginning. Everybody see one hand is a little longer than the other? Some people may have the same for both. Now, please hold up the shorter hand and look at the palm of your hand. Look at the shorter hand. If you both were the same, hold up one of them. Doesn't matter which. Okay? Look at that hand and say out loud, grow longer. Grow longer. Grow longer. Okay, now line them up and check it. All right, now hold that hand up again. Hold that same hand up again and say, back to normal. Back to normal. Back to normal. Now line them up and check it. Okay. What's that? People are saying, can you grow other parts of your body like this? It's a little early for this talk here, gang. Okay. Well, the idea is that there's a pattern that exists within us. And you can influence that pattern by simply bringing your awareness to it. And the same is true with anyone that you may be trying to influence to move in a certain direction. You have to bring it to their attention that this is what's going on for them. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not a judgment one way or the other, but where would they like to be? So we have the present state, we've got the desired outcome. Yes, here it is. So when we look at this, we're really talking about 3 different sensory systems: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. When you think about your desired outcome, where you would like to be, my invitation to you is to think about a full sensory representation of what it would be like having already accomplished what you're here to learn to accomplish. In other words, think of the what, not the how you're going to get there. There's a film out called The Secret, and one of the things that they talk about is focus on the what, not on the how. It's an interesting hypnotic ploy, if you think about it, because what it does is it gets you off of worrying about, how am I ever going to be able to do that? Don't worry about doing that. And what happens as a result is all the resources that are necessary to accomplish the end result are freed up to accomplish it. Well, I'd never be able to do that. You're right. But by the law of attraction, ask, believe, receive, you should be able to do it. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant concept. Back in the 50s, there was a man named Earl Nightingale who did a thing. It was the biggest selling non-musical recording in history, and it was called The Strangest Secret. You become in life what you think about. There's nothing particularly new about any of it. I've been teaching it for 30 plus years. The fact that it hit global consciousness is amazing. Now is the time for that to happen. Rhonda Byrne, who is the producer of The Secret, was invited by Chris and Janet Atwood to come to our meeting of the Transformational Leadership Council. I'm one of the founding members with Jack Canfield of a group of transformational leaders. And it was our 3rd meeting at Snowmass, Colorado. And Jack said, no, we don't want a videographer to come in from Australia to do any filming. And he thought about it that night. He thought, no, we should invite her, something about that. So she filmed us. There were 57 or 6 of us that were filmed for The Secret. Some of us ended up on the cutting room floor. But the idea was that we all were just speaking about everything we've always been talking about, the law of attraction, how we create what it is we want to create in life. Pretty simple stuff, been around forever. But boy, did it get into the public eye, didn't it? Amazing stuff. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to check it out. Now, I'm going to invite you through a process called positive outcome patterning. And like The Secret, it gives you a goal focus, it spontaneously helps you overcome barriers, and it brings all of your non-conscious resources in mind. So this is a split screen. On one side, you imagine the limitations that you've been dealing with up until now, all the I can'ts, what you haven't been able to accomplish, the overload, not enough time, blah, 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 wah, 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 whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is that keeps you stuck. We'll have that on one screen. And then on another screen over here, we'll have your sex change. No, we'll have the image of excellence over here where you imagine what it is that you want to accomplish. But key here is that you're already on the other side of having accomplished it. So you don't worry about how it's going to happen or how long it's going to take. You simply embody what it's going to be like once you're there. Now, there's going to be a 2-step process that we'll do with this. One is that you'll embody it in a full sensory way, step out of it, go to the other one, see it, step into it. Make sense? There's something called association and disassociation. Very common hypnotic technique. And the representation of the ideal end result is what we're going for. Anybody object? Anybody concerned that I will manipulate you to do dastardly things? You're all good? Okay, everybody stand up for a moment. And we're going to do something called Qigong bouncing. Qigong is a Chinese concentration meditation exercise we produce at Learning Strategies, the work of a master Chen Yilin. So heels are on the floor, your knees kind of bounce up and down. Let your arms bounce. All native traditions in the world have some kind of bouncing thing. In the African tradition, their hands are out like this. Try it. Yeah. Okay. In the Native American tradition, it's like this, out of the heart center, right? Kind of like that. And when the folks came to the New World, kind of hallelujah thing, like this. And the Chinese do it like this, where your hands, your wrists, are actually very loose, and they flop. Oh, you guys look great. So when you call home and tell your honey what you were doing today, well, we stood around with our hands waving in the air. Okay, now slowly lower your arms. Keep it bouncing going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. Stop. Now feel that feeling. Do you feel the energy in your body? This is a very simple energizing technique. It's very typical for all traditions in the world. The next thing I would recommend you do, take very loose fists, bend over slightly, and tap your tailbone down here. Up and down on your tailbone. Your sacral area. And this is really good when you're sitting in crappy chairs all day long. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'll just say conference room chairs all day long. Okay. Now you should be tapping your tailbone, not your partner's tailbone here. Okay, good. Have a seat. Make yourself comfy. The tailbone tapping, again, a Qigong exercise, is quite powerful for the effect that it has on opening this area which closes by sitting on it. All right, hands resting on your lap. Take a deep breath in, gently exhale and close your eyes. And imagine two large screens in front of you. The screen that's on the left has an image of you in a stuck state, producing the same old results year after year. No matter what you try, you get the same thing. You go to another program, read another book, you get the same results year after year. Walk over to that screen and imagine stepping inside of it and allow yourself just momentarily, just for the experience right now, to replay those feelings of failure, the feeling of being stuck, spinning your wheels, not getting what you want, not enough resources. Step outside of it and see it over there. Step outside of it. You know what it feels like to be in that state. Come back here to where you're sitting and allow yourself to feel neutral. Be in a neutral place. Now, over to the right, imagine a large screen. And on that screen is an image of you having already accomplished the massive level of success that you've desired. What you know you can. What you know you can accomplish. What you wish you could accomplish. What you desire to accomplish in every part of you, in every goal that you write. See it over there. Get the image of it having already accomplished it. Don't worry at all about how you're going to move to accomplish it. to see what it is and as you look at it, feel inside of your body, do I indeed desire to accomplish this end result? Is this what I really want? If not, modify it so it is exactly what it is you want. It could be a lifestyle, it could be an income, it could be success with a program that you're running. You name it, it's entirely up to you. Any level, chunk size that you desire. And when it's just right, when you say yes, this, or something even better, then imagine getting up, walking right over to that screen and stepping inside of it, and now look through your own eyes, through your own body, at the result that you've created. Imagine looking through your eyes and feeling in your body and hearing in your own internal dialogue and in the successful congratulations that others say to you, knowing that you have arrived. You've accomplished what you set your mind to. The vast powers of a supportive universe and all of the energy and capability within you finally freed to achieve what you desire, you've arrived. See it, feel it, hear it. And say yes. Yes. And now step out of that image and see it over there in front of you as a compelling future that you can move toward with each and every session that we have in this conference. And at a rate which is comfortable for you, gently rub your hands together. Bring your hands up to your face and open your eyes to the palms of your hands, covering your eyes, and then slowly moving your hands away from your face and into the room. In this way, changing your state of consciousness slowly with direct control. Very good. All right, very simple process, something that you can do for yourself at any time. It's essentially what you're doing when you're working with clients as well. There's a couple of types of communication that we engage in. Some are more overt and direct, like do this. The others are more subtle and indirect. I'm wondering if it's possible for you to consider doing this. There's a number of ways in which I teach this to folks, things that I've used within our presentation here today. The mind calm exercise, positive self-talk, relaxation training. I've given you 4 or 5 examples of it. I remember doing this demonstration of nonverbal hypnosis one time, and a guy, before he sat down, he said, you know, I just want to share with you before I leave the stage, these are 2 pink pieces of paper. They're prescriptions for relaxation prescriptions. I haven't been that relaxed in 6 months. He said it only took 90 seconds. He said that's phenomenal. He said I don't need these now. So consider you've really gained quite a lot as we've been playing here. Concert readings, don't worry about that. Guided visualizations, we've played with that. Positive outcome patterning. Affirmative self-suggestions, have you heard me use them throughout? Subtle and indirect peripherals with messages, information that's outside of your direct focus attention. Verbals and nonverbals. Have you noticed me doing anything physically to mark out what it is that I'm speaking about? Creation of a positive atmosphere, indirect suggestion by embedded commands, metaphors. Have I told you a few stories? parables, themes with deep meaning. Spatial anchoring. When I go to this side of the stage, what am I representing? Past. When I go to this, what am I representing? Future possibilities, right? Now, why would I choose the stage like that? Look at my face. If my eyes move like this, I'm remembering visual past. If I go like this, I'm imagining visual future. Well, turn that around, your past is going to be like that, your future is going to be like that. So I've set up my stage to communicate and anchor spatially where you've been and where we're going to. And so consistently doing that allows, certain messages to get in. They're very subtle and very indirect. You don't necessarily get somebody at a conscious level. If you watch Frank Kern's work and in what he's doing with video, there's a huge opportunity for that sort of thing. It's phenomenal work. What we're talking about is something called the structure of influence. What's the desired outcome? What's the present state? By establishing with somebody that Mark Orth and this real estate salesperson both would get what it looks like when somebody is living in their desired outcome. At any moment in time, they could calibrate. Are we moving forward or are we moving back? On the telephone, you can hear it. If you listen to a good telephone salesperson, you're going to hear two things. Number one is at the end of each of their sentences, they have a tendency to raise their voice. Do you know why that is? Because it's a question, and by creating a pause, the person will go, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Do you know when somebody is reading their mail and you're talking to them on the phone? Ah, absolutely. How do you know? The pauses are all bizarre. They don't respond well. They're off sequence. So modeling this are the top telephone salespeople in the business of executive headhunting. What I was able to do is train those techniques into the rest of the sales staff. Present state, desired outcome, calibration. Then what we do is we match or mirror what's going on in their present life, interact with them in a way that leads them in the direction of the desired outcome. If they don't follow your lead, that's feedback. What we want to do is match or pace something else and continue that process. That's what I would call the old technology, and the state is called rapport. The old technology said you match and then you lead, you pace and then you lead. But what these top salespeople do is they come from a place of such absolute congruence in their communication that they don't have to match the other person. The other person steps into their world. And so this is a level of sophistication of communication that's quite important. Rapport is a cooperative communication characterized by harmony, trust, positive emotional responses. What I'm advocating here is that the clearer you are on your message, the more powerfully you come from that place of knowing this will serve your clients, the more that they'll come into a unity relationship with you, especially if they know that you will do whatever it takes to get them where they want to go. So with that, we're at our conclusion. So my invitation to you at this point would be to take a moment to imagine how the rest of this day will go for you. So if you would, one more time, this will complete our 5th trance induction. Therefore, you can all enter a coma and return at the other side of it with all the learnings that you need. Take a moment to close your eyes, hands resting on your lap. Become aware of yourself from head to toe. Do you notice a little more brightness, a little more energy? Do you notice a little more possibility within you? We're moving from the present state to the desired outcome. Interacting, finding positive new choices and options that can overcome any problem or obstacle that you've been facing in your professional or personal life. More importantly, who you are as a learner is magnificent in every way. And so drop into this moment in time, right here and now, and realize the genius capacities of your non-conscious mind, the vast resources within you, knowing that you are receiving positive and constructive ideas, stimuli, that are received and discriminated, that are taken in and integrated, that are used by you spontaneously and automatically in all appropriate settings whenever you want or need them, so that you achieve your greatest dream, your deepest wishes, the fulfillment of the life you choose to create. Give yourself a positive suggestion about how the rest of this day is going to go for you. And at a rate which is comfortable for you, gently rub your hands together. Make them nice and warm. Bring your hands to your eyes. Open your eyes, the palms of your hands. Slowly draw your hands away from your face and into the room. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you.